I knew since I was very, very young that I was artistic. So when I was young, I was performing, I was singing, I was dancing at the drop of a hat. So my mother's friends would always remember me as that precocious boy who would just dance and sing anytime, anywhere when asked, to an embarrassment of some of my friends, my peers. So I possibly was discovered, my talent was discovered by this wonderful woman by the name of Siti Hawa Zain, or called Maiti. Her picture was actually in RTM as the pioneer of RTM. When I passed RTM, I was usually pay homage to her. I think I was discovered by her during a funeral. We used to have a kind of a 7 quarters at the back, and someone had died then, and she thought someone had died in my household, and she visited me, and my mother said, no, it's another person and all that kind of thing. And then she saw me, and I did my usual thing, and I danced for her and I sang for her. So eventually I got into a radio series called Maiti dan Taman Kanak-Kanaknya in the old radio Malaysia station, which is just underneath Jalan Aman, where British Council is. And I had my own series. And I used to sing sha'ir. I used to do a lot of kind of almost improvised skits on my own. And I was to sing, and the accompanist was Alfonso Suliano. And I was also with people like Farishno's mum and all that kind of thing. And of course, at that time, she was much older than me. But it was, I remembered going, the van picking me up and going to the 6th floor where I had seen this particular comedian by the name of Jamal Kerdil, who had to step on the chair to speak because he cannot reach the mic, so to speak. So those kind of image, and I was paid. So I was artistically inclined. That's what I said. I knew of my angin when I was young already, that I knew that I can do this, but I was never sent to any school or music school or whatever. Parents just don't do that. I then landed up in Royal Military College after my LCE, a lower education certificate or something like that, because I was very good as a scholar. And at RMC also eventually I got a lot of scholarships, and then a scholarship to do my matriculation in Perth, Australia. And from then on, the world opened for me, and I could do my classes even though I was studying. But I must say, I had seen the Ballet Philippines perform in Perth, and there were lots of wonderful male dancers, and I was very inspired. I remembered saying that, yes, that is what I should be doing. Though I had a group, a traditional Malay dance group in Perth. We're doing all the joget, the asli, and at that time, Nell, we were performing with a lot of the first the Australian Aborigines, and therefore, later on I became very familiar with these people because I was exposed in a lot of the folk festivals with a lot of other folk dances, even flamenco and things like that when during my formative days. But what I'm saying is that artistically, I was aware that I was an artist. Temperamentally, I was aware as an artist. It's really, truly fortunate that I followed this. I had a lot of my friends who did this, and I felt that when the persona of a banker or developer, when they are already looking at retirement, they kind of lost their persona. The persona was an artificial one, whereas I felt that I kind of relish this idea of developing totally my being through what I want to do. What motivates me is the work itself and the creative impulse. Then I look at the time scale, but this part of it, usually I have many works that is lined up, and there's also a kind of a serendipity, a time when you feel that this work is ready for that, and then I start having the creative impulse first before I think about the other areas of funding. And somehow it works for me because we tailor the baju according to according to the fit. We have the opportunity to have the good funding, then the work becomes bigger. Otherwise, at the moment, we have a kind of a laboratory where we test the work. And then when it is really fantastic, then we have a second season. And this is presently what's happened with mine, with the present work that I'm performing even today. When it's really good, then this is the second season, and then we'll take it to India, to overseas also, through my contact. We are not getting sufficient funding. I think that this is one of the major problems in the arts, the consistency of vision and infrastructure to take on the cultivation of talents, works, and things like that. I really feel that sometimes we are suffering from the karma of not looking at art as part of the education and valuing it, such that the people who are also in the powers that be are not sensitive enough to look at arts and culture as part of nation building, as part of building the individual holistic psyche and therefore the nation's psyche. So I've always felt that we are too much on measuring the index of success from a money point of view. The greed has become a bit too much now. I think there should be a moratorium, a caveat on having more malls, for example, because it's just not working. We have concrete jungles at the moment that will completely destroy the equanimity and the balance of the population. And people, if you look at, that's the other thing also, food. We're such a foodie and foodie culture, and truly there's more to life than just food and shopping. And I think this is one of the tragedy of Malaysian situation at the moment. Where arts are concerned, of course there's not enough funding, but I actually literally said that the ministry has got to have to do a complete makeover. And when you get the leader itself who are not passionate about the arts, then trickling at the bottom, you find bureaucrats also who are completely disconnected. What is also unhealthy at the moment, we have a blatant kind of cultural brokership. The money is being distributed by these brokers, these cultural brokers, who are very, very, again, money conscious and look at, under the guise of what do you call that? What is the term? I just at the moment, the terms I want to use is trying to better the life of artists, but they really have not got a turun padangkan view of what is happening. So what happened is that a lot of the money has only gone through say Istana Budaya or Aswara or some of the states to maintain the offices and not maintain the content. And this is really tragic. So the artists are abandoned. So what happened is that in the Indian, Chinese, and even Malay scene, they are charting their own narratives without funding, without thinking of funding. So a lot of the times the works are amateurish because there's not enough funding. And the rent are increasingly very, very high. And there is a very strong concentration of activities only in Kuala Lumpur. Maybe some in Penang during the Penang Festival or Georgetown Festival. And even that, we think that the indigenous, the local work is not sufficiently interesting. But there's hardly anything happening in other cities, in Kuantan or certainly not in Kelantan or in Terengganu. That's completely now, the Seri has left the states and not the rest. And I think people are fed up with this. The artists have totally think that, and this is not just the performing arts, but also in the visual arts. The visual arts also is suffering from that. If you look at the gallery, you'll find that there's hardly people going there. So why is it? Why is it that it's not done? And I think that dialogue has got to happen, and between the practitioner, scholars, and the bureaucrats. And there's really a disconnect between practitioner, scholars, and bureaucrat. Bureaucrat will organize the funding from the bureaucrats. The bureaucrats will attend the first speeches and leave. The scholars hardly invite the practitioners, but the scholars will talk about the work of what's happening but they don't invite. So I think there is a total kind of confusion as to what exactly are you doing here. And I'm one of the most successful artists in Malaysia, and yet, because I carry with me a whole lot of people, young people, and my dancers whom I thought would have to be pushed, and it's very difficult. It's very tough to, do we have a professional dance company? Aswara is struggling with the dance company, or I don't consider the Istana Budaya as a professional dance company at all. They are basically, for me, dinner shows type of companies. And this is exactly what is happening. You have people there that is elected because of their political mandate and not because they love the arts. You have bureaucrats who wanted to stay there, and also some of them are getting the contract also to get something, because there's money there from the the Chitrawarna festival or this conference and all that, but the real impulse, the real creative people are not having the consistency in funding. For people like myself who have been consistently putting in work, we really have to compete with the rest of the hoi polloi, the rest of the collegians also, to get some small funding. And so we haven't had any funding for a long time. Actually, JKKN and all that has literally abandoned us. I really feel that we need to, JKKN needs complete overhauling. Otherwise, there's no credibility in that institution at all, and this has got to be addressed simultaneously now. Otherwise, the same people are running the place and nothing is working. At the same time, I think that the national cultural policy needs also a makeover. If I go to any function where the doa is so long, it's just missed the point. It's so hypocritical now, and I think sure we have Islam as the thrust and all this kind of thing, but we cannot cram it into the mouth of everyone. And let's have the doa in a special time when the doa is required, not for about 10-15 minutes when there are many other people around, even overseas people and all that kind of thing. Sure, we have a short one and that's it. These are the kind of situation I feel that slightly elsico, it's let's get out of this and let's move on into the real stuff. I'm so angry about this because it's too much that we don't say it and let them get away with this. There's a time, I think the arts in Malaysia is being sustained by the artists mainly, and a lot of passion, a lot of sacrifices from the artists themselves have contributed to the present survival of the arts. But as I said, it is concentrated in Kuala Lumpur. The activities in Kuala Lumpur. In Kuala Lumpur, population is not as in London or in, and somehow as Sutra, we are very lucky because we. A lot of my friends from overseas would come and visit Sutra and say that, Ramli, this is fantastic. You mean you are doing Indian classical dance for a week season? Or even, so to a certain extent, Sutra has achieved a very strong presence in spite of, in fact, we've planted Odissi, which was not there before, into the soil, so to speak, and we have then toured it. We sometimes we have sponsored the tour. Last year for Odissi and High, we made sure that we perform in AIMS or in Manipal University, but we find out that we have to put our own money. Never mind, I said that it's important for us to reach out to the young people. But so what is the kind of infrastructure should we have in order for the arts to be able to have a kind of support that it deserves, so that it's not so centralized, and so so the population can have a general benefit from the exposure to good arts. Now the corporate is not helping much. Name me a corporate now that is doing a CSR program on culture. Not many. Sometimes Bo is doing, and Bo has lost his plot. Sam Dabi is doing more like a community festival. So there is a difference between a community arts and arts that is concentrating on excellence. There's a big difference. So I can't think of any arts. So it's a kind of the sponsorship is very ad hoc. And when you want to have a next project, then you start the whole ritual of doing that again. And like this, the archival and all that. How does it reach out into all the libraries in Kuala Lumpur? These are the kind of things, and I feel that the model of the Arts Council that is geared towards Malaysia is still important. Maybe we have about 10 boards in the Arts Council covering from community arts to performing arts to literature to even orang asli to music to literature, so that the board is responsible for the creative development of each part of it and answerable to that. So the funding can be given and not just in one basket, and you call Izan Satria or whatever it is to dispense with the money, and she doesn't even know what is happening. You know, she's basically a chicka boom woman. So I can't stomach that kind of situation just because you wear your tight jeans and see the officer to get more funding, and you talk about your improvement of the arts. It doesn't happen like that. So I think you have to bring out the right people to head the boards. Each board has got its own. If you talk about literature, you've got performing arts, you got music and all that. Who you can, and this board can change, so that every year and every 3 years or something. I think the model of Australia, there was a time in Australia, it might be out of model at the moment, but still it was good for the initial one to create the interest. And I really think that the funding should have that kind of infrastructure. Where have we touched? And I feel that the right people with knowledge, passion, and not who you know, who are your good friends, and should be in the places where their credibility is assured through their practice. So I think right from the area of the national cultural policy has got to be reviewed, not just by sending forms, but speaking truly with at the ground level. What is the problem? Well, I don't know whether the eminent people of the arts on their sections can then provide the advice as what can be done for a total makeover of this present kind of impasse that's happened. The thing is, I love gardening and I love to be with animals, and I find a great solace with garden and animals. To such an extent, if I visualize a kind of a heaven, not with the bidadari of the Muslim kind of thing, but with all this garden and animals that I have nurtured. I had always imagined that if I have another choice, I would be a kind of person who's looking after a garden. A beautiful garden, not a well-kept garden, but a kind of a botanical garden where I am, surrounded with animals and with plants. That's I never look back to, because I look forward, and I had said to my older self that if I were to walk back, it's just like one of those films, I will never turn back again. Yeah, I will never look back again. You've done as much as you can. How you're remembered, you're dead already, and how you're remembered is not important. But for me, the legacy has to go on, and I think it's a contribution to the human legacy of being part of an evolved person.